They thought you'd forget what they said. They thought you'd buy their lies. But the socialist backpedal has officially begun, and Greg Gutfeld just nuked their entire agenda live on TV. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get into it.
You briefly supported the idea of defunding the police.
Well, I think that during this time and especially during COVID, there was a huge opening of the Overton window. We were shut down. There was some of the highest unemployment rates that we have seen because of those shutdowns. Yeah. Of course, rhetoric in that time is not rhetoric that we would use today.
But the DSA Dems are apparently unprepared. The group's co-chair stumbled when pressed on its big plans to tax the rich.
I do believe in taxing the hell out of millionaires. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what does taxing the hell out of them mean?
Yeah, I don't have like a solid, but I think.
But shouldn't you? Shouldn't you be more specific than just taxing the hell out of something? What exactly do you mean?
What does it say that Harold AOC, far-left squad member AOC, is distancing herself from Hong because of her too far to the left radical policies?
How are you going to answer the housing and education and tax problem in the country? How are you going to address the fact that people think you're way outside the mainstream? And they seem like they're thinking it through it on the fly, as if they're winging it in the middle of a congressional campaign. I personally like the Congresswoman AOC. However, there are no legislative accomplishments to point to. There are no themes or no legislation you're campaigning for on the campaign trail other than Donald Trump's terrible. You've been there all these years. What is it that you support? Say how you don't want tariffs because they're driving up the cost of things that people need most across New York. Say that you're for affordable housing, and here's your plan to do it. But Democrats, we have an opportunity to win a majority in the House and the Senate, and all we're doing is performing.
First, AOC. So let's say you're a young person living in a house with a bunch of roommates, and one of your roommates comes home and invites a vagrant. He's crazy looking, his eyes are all over the place, smells like crap. But your roommate saying, oh, he could just stay the night, and she's kind of cute. And every time you say, I don't think this is a good idea, she questions your compassion. What, don't you care about the people less privileged than you are? He's only going to stay the night. Look at him, he needs a rest. And so the vagrant, against your warnings, gets to spend the night. The next day, everything's stolen and your building burns down. And then your hot roommate goes, wow, that was crazy. What happened? That's AOC and every Democrat who enabled wokeism. She didn't say that it was crazy when it was happening because it was hot.
Greg Gutfeld brought an absolute reality check to this segment, exposing the sheer fraudulence behind the left's sudden moderation. Watching self-proclaimed socialists try to distance themselves from their own radical rhetoric is comedy gold. For years, AOC and the DSA movement operated with total arrogance, believing they could preach economic nonsense without ever facing real-world pushback. But the second you ask a socialist to explain how they plan to fund trillions in government expansion, their fake confidence completely evaporates. The American public isn't falling for this tactical retreat. The left loves to chant catchphrases like tax the rich, but they never want to address the aftermath, investments drying up, and small businesses shutting their doors.